There's a strange thing happening to men online right now. We've never had more explanations for why men feel dissatisfied, restless, and disconnected from purpose. And at the same time, we've never had fewer men who feel capable of decisive action. Every emotion has a name. Every frustration has a framework. Every failure has a theory. Yet momentum feels increasingly rare. The modern internet is flooded with language designed to interpret men rather than direct them. Over the last several years, the dominant cultural instinct has been to translate male experience into psychological terms. Discomfort is no longer a signal, it's a symptom. Desire is no longer an impulse, it's a narrative. Friction is no longer fuel, it's something to be processed. This didn't happen accidentally, and it didn't come only from fringe self-help spaces. It came from serious, credentialed voices. Therapists, neuroscientists, sociologists, public intellectuals, podcasts with millions of listeners, books with bestseller status. Men were told, often with good intentions, that understanding themselves was the path forward, and at first, it felt like progress. Men were finally allowed to talk, to admit confusion, to name dissatisfaction without shame. For a culture that had long treated male struggle as weakness, this shift felt humane, necessary even. But something subtle changed along the way. Men were no longer being asked what they were building. They were being asked what they were feeling, and then asked to stay there. The internet taught men to narrate themselves endlessly, to observe their instincts instead of acting on them, to pause at every internal signal and translate it into language before deciding whether it was healthy, valid, or problematic. That sounds sophisticated, it sounds compassionate, it sounds like growth, but it also rewires how men interpret pressure. Here's the core mistake. A massive portion of what is now framed as dysfunction is actually a normal male response to friction, restlessness, aggression, dissatisfaction, the persistent sense that you should be doing more with your life than you currently are. Historically, these were not treated as red flags. They were treated as alarms. They pushed men outward, not inward, toward hierarchy, competition, skill building, and status, toward finding their place in a structure that rewarded competence. When men felt pressure, they didn't ask what it meant. They moved. They lifted heavier things. They worked longer hours. They competed. They tested themselves against standards that existed outside their own emotions. That friction wasn't something to eliminate. It was the mechanism that created momentum. But when you tell men those same signals are symptoms, signs of trauma, repression, or maladjustment, you don't remove the feeling. You remove the outlet. The energy stays in the system, but the direction disappears. So what replaces action is introspection without resolution. Men become hyper-aware of their inner world but hesitant in the outer one. They gain vocabulary but lose decisiveness. They become informed without becoming effective. They don't feel broken in a dramatic way. They feel stalled, permanently in process. This is why diagnostic content is so seductive. It explains discomfort without demanding transformation. It allows identification without risk. It offers relief without confrontation. And it works perfectly in content ecosystems. Diagnostic framing keeps people watching because it keeps them inside themselves. It keeps them relating. It keeps them returning for new language to describe the same internal state. But it does not produce stronger men. It produces long-term consumers of insight. This is the part no one likes to say out loud. The diagnostic era wasn't designed to end. It was designed to sustain engagement. But cultural moods don't remain static. They oscillate. Periods of abundance reward introspection. Periods of scarcity reward mobilization. And pressure, real pressure, is returning. Economically, systems are tightening. Social mobility is narrowing. Institutions are losing credibility. Geopolitical instability is no longer abstract. When pressure increases, cultures stop rewarding reflection and start rewarding function. This isn't ideological, it's practical. When survival feels uncertain, societies don't ask men how they feel. They ask what they can do. Vulnerability loses cultural status. Competence gains it. Not because empathy disappears, but because coordination becomes urgent. Men don't want to hear, let's explore why this feels hard when stakes rise. They want to hear, here's the standard. Meet it. That's not cruelty. It's alignment. Societies under pressure don't need men who understand themselves deeply. They need men who perform reliably. This is where the shift becomes visible. Influencers don't lead these changes, they follow them. When introspection paid, creators introspected. When reassurance earned clicks, reassurance dominated. As the environment hardens, so does the messaging. This isn't hypocrisy, it's adaptation. The audience moves first, content follows. The real mistake was believing this era was primarily about helping men heal. It wasn't. It was about managing men during a period of cultural looseness, keeping dissatisfaction contained, interpreted, and non-disruptive. That phase is ending. When cultures tighten, men aren't soothed. They're mobilized. The transition doesn't come with an announcement. There's no public reckoning, no apology for the tone shift. It simply becomes obvious. Language sharpens, expectations harden, tolerance for drift disappears. The first thing that returns is hierarchy. Men want clarity. They want to know where they stand, who is competent, who is respected, who is useful. In loose cultures, hierarchy is framed as oppressive. In tight cultures, it becomes stabilizing. Men stop asking, "How do I feel about my place?" and start asking, "How do I move up?" Content responds accordingly. Less reassurance, more ranking, more standards, more consequence. Not because hierarchy is morally superior, but because ambiguity becomes unbearable under pressure. Next comes physicality, not aesthetic fitness, not lifestyle branding, functional capability, strength, endurance, presence. Bodies stop being personal projects and start being signals again. Signals of discipline, readiness, seriousness. When pressure rises, physical competence becomes shorthand for trust. Men understand this instinctively. That's why training and toughness always surge before ideology does. Then comes dominance, the word everyone avoids. Not cartoon aggression, not cruelty. Agency, the ability to decide, to act, to impose order when uncertainty spreads. In introspective eras, dominance is reframed as insecurity. In tight eras, it becomes responsibility. Someone has to move first. Someone has to lead. Someone has to carry weight. Men respond to that call faster than they respond to analysis. This is where the final illusion collapses. Creators don't abandon diagnostic language because it was false. They abandon it because it stops working. For years, content revolved around naming the problem. Trauma, attachment styles, burnout, anxiety, identity confusion. It gave men language for feelings they couldn't previously articulate. It made them legible, to themselves and to the world, and for a time that mattered. But explanation has a shelf life. Eventually, awareness stops producing movement. The audience no longer wants another breakdown of why they feel stuck. They want to know what to do next. They want direction, not reflection. Momentum, not mirrors. So the tone hardens. Advice becomes instruction. Messaging shifts from validation to demand. Not because creators suddenly became harsher, but because incentives did. Platforms reward clarity. Audiences reward outcomes. Content that soothes plateaus. Content that challenges converts. The same men who once asked, "What's wrong with me?" now ask, "What's required of me?" That question changes everything. The diagnostic era served its purpose. It helped men see themselves clearly. But clarity without capability becomes a trap. Endless processing. Infinite self-examination, no execution. Understanding turns into a comfortable substitute for action. The next era won't center being understood. It will center becoming capable. Capable of discipline, capable of consistency, capable of carrying weight without constant explanation. And the moment you notice the language, stop explaining men, and start challenging them, you'll know the shift is complete. If this hit, like the video, subscribe for more breakdowns on culture, psychology, and the shifts shaping modern masculinity, and share it with someone who's ready to move forward.